Welcome to Baseball Biz. I'm Mark Carpet, your host, and with me today I have the Honourable Lou Schiff. This man, he is a judge, but not just in the courtroom. He is judging what's going on with the Miami Marlins and all of MLB, and he's going to share his insightful opinions with us today, which I can't wait to hear. Hey, welcome, Lou. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful, Mark. Happy almost middle of June to you.
Oh, brother, I know. Can you believe this? I've been saying time and time throughout the first few weeks of this season, it's too early. It's too early. It's too early to say anything. But good things are happening. I'm looking at the Marlins right now, and wow, that win column is looking pretty good.
Those two games they won in Chicago over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. It's a good thing they got out of town right away because there's a warrant out for the entire team's arrest for stealing those games. I have never been more excited watching bad baseball, in a sense, and I don't mean it's bad for the Marlins. I have such empathy for the implosion of the White Sox in those two games because it looks like the Marlins. If all you had to do was change the jerseys and say, it looked like Marlins Braves. They're going to win. They're going to win. They're going to win. And then the Braves figure out a way to come back and beat us. Marlins Met. We're going to win. And then they figure out a way. The play, and I'm sure you've seen with Jorge Soler and Luis Arraez and Dela Cruz. Everybody is picking it up. And that's what's such a beauty of this batting order right now, that everybody is contributing. It's just not one guy. So, if it was just one guy, say it was, Luis Arraez, who's now below 400, but you know what? I'll take a below 400 hitter with a team that's winning. Yeah, he's at 397, but I'll take that when you're 8 games over 500.
Good
but
Lord.
You can't pitch around him because right behind him is Soler and Dela Cruz, and now Cooper's starting to hit, and Sanchez is hitting, and then you take guys like Birdie and Davis and Hampson, journeyman ball players, and they're all hitting above 260 pretty much. The only people that are struggling right now, the Segura is struggling, and also the backup. I call him the backup catcher right now, Stallings. He and Fortes were playing about the same amount of time, but they're the only two guys really struggling at the plate. The team is starting to learn. They're learning how to win, and it's a fun thing to watch.
Learning how to win. That's a good point. I've got to ask you about that because, there's a sense of synergy with that team. You were talking about one right back behind the other, supporting the other. Do you think the new manager, Skip, do you think he's making a difference with this team?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I'm watching yesterday and I see him, they pull the pitcher and then, we give up some runs and you say maybe he shouldn't have pulled the pitcher. But, you can always second guess manager, but I think what he's brought to the clubs, the ball players seem to like him. They're winning. If I would have told you that the Marlins were going to have 20 come from behind wins and lead the major leagues by the middle of June, you'd say there's just no way. If I was going to tell you that the Marlins were going to have their first one-run game to win and set a major league record of winning 12 one-run games in a row to start a season, it's just a bunch of improbable things happening, and got to go along for the ride. I read recently that the Marlins are going through a soft part of the schedule. Good teams have to beat the soft teams, and they have to play good ball because when we start playing teams like the Phillies again and the Mets, and we have to play the dreaded Braves, we're going to have to play 500 ball with them. And then again, and then you look at the pitching, and the pitching has been really fabulous. Sigh Sandy, it's like, well, which Sandy is going to show up? Is it going to be Sigh Sandy or is it going to be Sigh Sandy? And he's starting to pitch better. He pitched a great game the other night. He didn't get the win, but that's okay. He pitched 7 solid innings. The team came through. It's okay. You don't have to win a Cy Young award every year. No. As long as the old Sandy starts to come back, and we can get 7 innings out of him, I think we'll do good. We need to. One of the things, some of our pitchers are only going about 5 innings, and they're helping tremendously. But we're going to need to lengthen them a little bit and go 5, 6 innings. But overall, I think they're a sleeper team. I really think the rest of the baseball world, a lot of fans don't realize just how special this Marlins team is. You look and you see the Orioles. You look at the standings and you say to yourself, well, how did the Orioles get there? What's going on? No one's surprised about Tampa Bay. Nobody's surprised about the Rays. I mean, the Rays are, no matter what, they're a great team. But you look and you see the Rays with over 40 wins. They've got 41 wins. And the Yankees are doing well. That's a tough division. Boston's in last place right now, and they're a 500 club. But Baltimore's a surprise team. It's nice to see. Look at the American League Central, and the first place team is no better than the last place team in the American League East. Minnesota's at 33-33, and Boston is at 33-33, and the difference is Minnesota's in first and Boston's in last.
Oh, brother!
Welcome to baseball.
Welcome to baseball. The other thing, I don't get too much of this, but if you look at Central, either in National or American League. And it's like, why are you guys there? I feel like sometimes right now, if you look at the top 4 teams in the National League, I mean, it's obviously the Braves. What is it? You guys, the Dodgers, and who is it? The Diamondbacks, Diamondbacks, Braves, you guys, so I'm looking there. So nobody in Central.
I don't want to jinx the Marlins, but right now they have the second best record in the National League. Okay, that's another thing. I feel like I just woke up and it's like, no, this can't be for real. But they're playing well. And you look even at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's in first place in the Central. If I told you in April that the St. Louis Cardinals would be 12 games under, and the third to the worst team in the National League in the middle of June, you would say that's there's just no way.
I would have been dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded that the Pirates are where they're at. To see them at the top of that, it was like, I did not. I might as well see Detroit leading as well. I thought, well, okay, but I'm glad to see you guys do it so well. I mean, in just those numbers that you were stating, it is amazing to see what a lot of folks didn't think was possible. And I do believe that it takes a synergy of the team. The people got to back up one another. You've also got to have a deep bullpen. I mean, you're talking about 5-inning pitchers. So how is that bullpen?
Well, bullpen's done pretty well. Puck is back. I think we stole Puck in the sense that I guess we gave Bleday to the A's, and the A's gave us Puck, and actually the A's have won 4 or 5 in a row. They're actually now with a record that if they continue this way, they will not be the worst team in the history of baseball. That'll still belong to the 62 Mets. I think the A's are now on pace to win 41 or 42 games. They've won a few games in a row. I think 4 or 5 games in a row, and they're only about a game and a half off of Kansas City. And and it's too bad that Kansas City is a great baseball town. So and St. Louis, these 2 great Midwest baseball towns are. We'll see just how much their fans stick with them because they've always had good teams. But it's just an incredible downfall of teams that you would never think would sink this low.
Yeah, I know. And thinking about the A's, I'll tell you real quickly. I work at the Tampa Baseball Museum some of the time, and a family came in the other day, and I didn't recognize the gentleman. And the wife says, "Do you give a discount for MLB players?" I said, "Sure." And I didn't recognize him. It was Joe Rudy of the Oakland A's back during Rollie Fingers time and all that. And I thought, I wanted to say something, but I was thinking Vida Blue had just passed and all that, and I just kind of let it roll. But my gosh, I think of the glory of the Oakland A's and the history, and man, it's sad. I feel so sad for those guys right now. One thing I did see that was of interest to me, and I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but I heard the A's fans have a reverse boycott. they're trying to get like 35,000 fans out in the stadium. So they want to just let people know we care. Just sell the daggone team to somebody else here in town. That's what they want. So
yeah, I feel. Look, you being with the Rays and me being a Marlins fan, I understand the agony that they're going through in Oakland. It's wrong. That the team is basically a lame duck team. Vegas still hasn't come through the way they say they're going to come through. Are they? You remember how you got the team in Tampa with all the things going on? First the Twins. That's all right. So we were talking about the A's fans and how really sad it is for those fans, because I am sure, like myself, there are fans that go back with this team when they left Kansas City. And then they've been there, and there's generations of fans that feel betrayed, and you can certainly understand it. And then I'm thrown back to, baseball's a business, and the owners break your hearts.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you look across and you see how many hedge fund people have actually bought teams over the last few years. It's a business, and it's one that, as much as they say they want to support the fans, they're going to make those decisions. It almost reminds me the way things are going with the A's, much like it was with Carlos Correa when he's trying to get a new job. Oh yeah, we're going to take you. We're going to work with you. Okay. Oh, and the Mets are going to do this. Oh yeah, no, we'll wound up back with the Twins after all. So it feels like that.
That was incredible. Yeah.
People come into the baseball museum here in Tampa, and a lot of times they'll say, "So the Rays, fantastic. So when are you guys moving? What's your new location?" And I'm like, put the hands up in the air. And I said, "I love to tell you, I have no idea. The world changes as we live and breathe, and I hope they're going to be here, but we'll see. We'll see." But let's get away from that fun. I'll come back to the Marlins, who I absolutely adore right now, man. Oh. One thing, about a year ago when you and I were talking, and Jazz Chisolm looked like a very likely candidate. I think he was a candidate for the All-Star game.
Right.
This year, the man, unfortunately, turf toe and got injured. But before all that, I guess he was relegated to center field, right?
Right. And here's the sad part about it. The Marlins are winning without him. And I mean, that's not sad, but it's sad for him, because who are you going to demote? Who are you going to take away playing time when this team has built this kind of chemistry? And I think that's going to be the problem. And it's not like you miss him, because you don't miss him. I mean, how? And I don't mean it in a bad way. He got all this preseason hype with MLB The Game, and he was, he's the poster kid for that, and good for him. And he's an exciting player when he's healthy. But we got guys. 39-year-old Gurriel is playing. He's hitting 261. He's a leader on the team. He's a leader in the clubhouse, and he brings things that Jazz doesn't bring in that capacity. Hampson, who I think is playing shortstop maybe tonight, also plays the outfield. He's hitting in the 240s. It's okay, but he's there, and he's contributing. So who is going to go down? Sanchez is now playing well. So again, where are you going to put him? He's hitting. Sanchez is hitting close to 280. You've got all these guys that are starting to put a solid season together, and he's certainly not going back to second base. I think we've got the world's best second baseman right now. So do we use Jazz to trade for something? We've got Trevor Rogers, who is trying to rebuild his career, still not there. Johnny Cueto, who still hasn't pitched an inning for the Marlins. They were supposed to be producers. Obviously, they're winning without these guys, and I would imagine that a player who's supposed to be on the team, who's watching his team win, you got to feel happy for your team, but somehow deep down inside, you might be saying to yourself, wow, when do I want this opportunity. Am I ever going to get this opportunity?
Man, I tell you, I know it's difficult. Sometimes, you want some depth on your team, and it's nice when you can give a player a rest for a day and have somebody in line. I don't know that that's the thing with Jazz, but second base really looks fantastic right this year. All rise. I mean, and we're not talking about Aaron Judge.
He's an everyday player, and then you have Perez, the 20-year-old rookie, who was supposed to just be a quote spot starter, and I think he's got a 3-1 record in 6 starts. He has struck out 30 guys in 29 innings. I don't think he's going down. He's got a 2.17 ERA. Why would you bring him? Why would you move him off the starting rotation? So who are you going to get rid of in the starting rotation to make room for Trevor Rogers or Cueto? You tell me. Somebody might got hurt. I mean, the thing is, during a baseball season, we're going to get some guys hurt, and you just hope that nobody goes down for too long. But if everybody's healthy, where do these guys go?
Well, that's a good question, and I got to tell you, I saw Corey Kluber last year playing for us, and he got moved to the Red Sox, and I thought Neander sees when things are become a little bit over too ripe, and poor Corey Kluber, he's having a tough year. So they took this starting pitcher, and now he is coming from the bullpen, a Cy Young Award winner coming out of the bullpen for the Boston Red Sox. And that's tough. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't know, if he'll go the entire year, if he'll find something else, they'll find something else for him. But when you've got great talent and some of it fades or greater talent comes up, it's difficult. I mean, Jazz is somebody you love, somebody a lot of people have embraced. Like you said, he's on the game but all of these pieces, fans still want to see a winning team out there on the field. And if you've
bottom line is that's what you want to see. You want to see some favorite players, but the bottom line is you want to see you really want to see a winning team. And so, but you don't want to lose a guy like Jazz because of the excitement he brings. I don't have to make that call, but obviously if something attractive is offered for him, you don't know, somebody may get hurt. I think that one of the, and I don't want to say disposal, that's the wrong word to use. One of the players that has done an unbelievable job and probably deserves to stay, but might be the odd person out is Davis, who has done a really good job. Last night he scores that, he scores a big run in the 9th inning. He's fast. He's got smarts. He doesn't have a lot of experience because he just didn't play a lot in his career, and now he's getting a chance. And so, how do you tell a guy like that, listen, we're going to move you because he's done everything right for this team?
It's tough, and I mean, I'm looking at right now at your roster. Birdie's still performing. You talk about Yuli Gurriel. Obviously, he's doing what he needs to do. Garrett Cooper's still doing fantastic.
Yeah, he was out for a few days. They didn't put him on the IL, but he was out for a few days, and then he hit a pinch hit home run. And yesterday in Sunday's game, he came through big. And this is what you want from your guys. You're supposed to be your star players.
And I was glad to see when you guys got Soler from Atlanta a couple of years ago. And I said, man, that's a powerful player.
He's up to he's second in the league in home runs. He's and now, with Pete Alonso out for the next week or so, it kind of opens the door for Soler to pass him because he has 19. Soler seems to hit a lot of home runs in spurts. He had a off year, I think, last year. It wasn't they gave him a big contract. He hit just a little bit above the Mendoza line last year. Soler has more home runs this year than he hit all of last year in less games played. He has more RBIs already this year than he did last year. His numbers are way up. His strikeouts are just about even, maybe a little bit down. So he's coming through. His on base percentage is so much better. His OPS is over 900 this year compared to under 700 last year. And he's, I don't know if he'll ever be the World Series MVP because, again, that was lightning in a bottle, short series. Anybody's capable of doing anything, but he's certainly capable of hitting more than 20 homers a year. In Kansas City that one year, he hit close to 50 home runs. So he certainly, he's 4 years older than he was then, but he's certainly capable of hitting. He's on a pace to hit 40 home runs this year. I don't want to jinx him, but he's really on a pace to hit 40 home runs, which we haven't had a home run hitter since Stanton left.
Well, that goes to a lot of excitement. And look at the last game you played when y'all took White Sox. Remind me, wasn't it like long ball, and just
yeah, 4 solo home runs. It was the most home runs they've had in the game this year. Soler had 2 of them. It was, and I'll tell you what hurt the White Sox. So when this happened yesterday, as I'm watching the game, it was the catcher's interference on what was a strike 3 swing. And when that happened, I said to myself, "This is over. It's over." Again, like we said at the beginning of the conversation, these were the things the Marlins are capable of doing, but they're not doing it. They're letting other teams do that for them this season. And so, but when that catcher's interference occurred, it was like, the crazier things have happened. Absolute crazier things have happened. And it was and you feel bad for the Chicago fans because they're good fans.
Oh yeah. They care. They care a lot.
Out to see their team play.
I've had Nick Morowski on here a few times. He does the podcast Good Gas Talk Back. He lives like about less than a mile from the stadium. So the man's passionate about it. I mean, and when I listen to him, he also does Locked on Sox podcast. The passion he and other ones have with it. I know it's painful. Chicago's been a painful place for both Cubs and White Sox, but the White Sox got to find something besides carrying around long black coats for a home run to juice up that team. But getting back to Sunday's game,
did you happen to hear the call, the Marlins radio call?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Say a bit.
Kyle Seeloff's call. I got it queued up for you if you want the listeners to hear it.
Please do.
Let me hear. This is Kyle Seeloff, who is the Marlins play-by-play guy. He's about 32 years old, young fella, and here's his call in the 9th inning.
First chase to De La Cruz. De La Cruz ground ball fair. It's a fair ball for De La Cruz rolling down the left field line. One run is going to score. Birdie's going to try to score. Throw comes in towards the plate. Not in time. You got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Birdie scores. Throw comes in towards third now. De La Cruz is at third base. The Marlins have stormed all the way back. Down 5-1 going to the top of the 8th inning. They've done it again. 3 runs in the top of the 9th. The Marlins lead 6-5. Holy cow.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. I loved it because I saw it on YouTube, and the he's sitting there and he's got the pen and base. He's looking down there. He's doing his business, getting ready to call the call. And from this very almost calm person, he just erupts, as you heard there. It's oh God.
And you watch him and you can see it. And then he pauses and he writes something down. And then he goes, "They're going nuts," or something like that. You got to be kidding me. He didn't curse. I thought it sounded like he almost was going to say. Anyway, yeah, it was one of his really good calls.
No, I love that, man. It has to be exciting. I want to talk to you about something I thought it brought energy to the Rays this year, and I think maybe doing the same for you all as well. And that is the Latin community because of what happened with the World Baseball Classic. looking at these teams like Mexico, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, and seeing these teams perform so well. And so many of the Major League Baseball players are out there. And when they came from that environment straight into the regular season or the last part of spring training, it seemed like there was a fire within those players as they came onto the teams.
So I had a chance to go to a couple of the games in Miami. I went to the Mexico-Japan game where it looked like Mexico was going to win. And then in the last moment, Japan won. Marlins Park has never been a more excited ballpark, which goes to what I've always said to you when we've talked about baseball in Miami is definitely a baseball town. Fans in Miami love the game. If you put a good product on the field, they will show up. Now, let's see what happens on this next homestand. Let's see if they can keep winning, because Miami fans are really fickle, as you know, and so just because they're 8 games over 500 now doesn't mean that they're going to draw people if they don't keep on winning. So they've got to finish up with Seattle and then they have to play Washington, and then they come home and they've got 3 games with a good Blue Jays team, and then they have another 4 games with a very good Pirates team, and then they have 4 games, and then they go on the road, and then they come back for 4th of July, and they have 4 games with the Cardinals, and maybe they can do something with it. But with their next homestand, even though it's a short one, they have 2 very good teams in for 7 games, and they've got to go 2-1 and 2-2 and things like that, just to keep things going. And you hope the fans are going to show up, because I don't know what else. Again, fans are fickle. They Miami loves baseball, but sometimes they just don't love the Marlins because of what's happened in the past.
I'm really curious to see when I come down to visit with you guys and the Rays are playing at Lone Depot. And I think, again, of the energy of a lot of these players who came from the World Baseball Classic. I know, looking at Siri, looking at Rosarina, from our team. And
he was unbelievable. He made catches. He made a spectacular catch in the Japan game. He came from out of nowhere and went up over the fence to bring down a ball. It was like watching a World Series game. It was that kind of level of play and commitment that the ball players had.
Well, Don, do you think that the Latin community, did you see the Latin community really come out and support for these games?
I saw more than just the Latin community. I mean, it was just baseball. It didn't matter where you were from. The Latin community was there. Folks from Japan were there. Anglos were there. The whole world was there. It was just one big fruit bowl mix of just baseball fans. Doesn't matter. It was just people coming out to watch good baseball. It wasn't a typical Thursday night. Marlins are playing the Nationals. No one's showing up. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And if they do show up, there'll be more National fans than Marlins fans. I just saw great baseball. It was just people coming to watch baseball. And of course there was patriotic pride in the stand. Bands going through the stadium and playing, and people waving all kinds of flags, the Dominican flag, the Mexican flag, the American flag, the Japanese flag. People were cheering. And you know what was really nice? There wasn't the kind of, it wasn't a Red Sox Yankees rivalry. Okay? You understand?
I do.
It wasn't, hey, it wasn't. It was, people were like jovial to see fans of another team, because there was a lot of respect. You would see they weren't doing the kind of taunting that a Red Sox Yankees series would have. Okay, that there wasn't that kind of a rivalry. It was a respect, but it wasn't Yankees Red Sox kind of rivalry.
No. It's interesting you say
Phillies, things like that. Yeah.
It's interesting you say it, because you and I both know, living in Florida, there's not as many natives as there are all of us imports. And I was going to say it gets to the point where I go to a Rays game, I can see more Yankees fans there because of all the transplants from New York that have come down.
Well, that's it. I go to a Marlins game against the Mets. I'm at Shea Stadium. You go to the Phillies game, and you're at the bank, Citizens Bank ballpark. But that's the nature of South Florida. That's just. But then again, look what's going on in sports in South Florida in the last few months. You had the Miami Hurricanes and the FAU Owls in the basketball finals, and then down the street in Davie, you had Nova Southeastern University men's basketball team win the Division II national title. You have right now you've got a Florida University of Florida is playing in the College World Series. You have even though they're on oxygen, you have the Heat, and tell me who had. Okay, I want to know who took the Heat and the Panthers and the Owls and the Hurricanes to make it to the finals. If anybody raises their hand, lightning's going to hit them dead. There was nobody on this planet that could have picked all four of those teams to go to the finals. There's just nobody. And there's nobody that picked the Heat and the Panthers, never mind throwing in the Hurricanes and the Owls. It's just been an incredible last few months of sports in South Florida.
Oh man, I love it. I absolutely do. No, it's a lot to celebrate. I mean, and like I said, looking at both of our teams, I think they're both really going to excel. I feel both of them will be there in the playoffs. I think that
you're going to be there in the playoffs. So the reality is, as a Marlins fan, I'm optimistic, but my heart's been broken before.
Yeah.
Okay. So my heart's been broken before, and it may get broken again. But the Rays have proven time and time again that they know how to win. They know how to win, and they've shown it. And right now there really isn't. Is there a better team in the American League than the Rays? And the answer is there isn't. There just isn't. And then that same question holds true. Is there a better team in the National League than the Rays? And the answer is there isn't. The Rays are the absolute best team in baseball. But Mark, if you talk to fans in New York or California, in the Midwest, they don't think of Florida as a baseball state.
No.
They think of it, they have football down there, and they dabble and they got the Heat, and now all of a sudden the Panthers. No one looks at Florida as a baseball state. Not for professional baseball, maybe for college baseball, but not for professional baseball. and I love the story of the Rays and the Marlins. I'm hoping that when August rolls along, the end of August, when you come on down to Miami and we'll go to a ball game, that our two teams are just kind of where they are now, where, by then, maybe the Rays will be close to clinching the Central, and the Marlins will be close to maybe, clinching a number one playoff spot. But they gotta beat out the Dodgers. They have to beat out the Mets. They still have to beat out the Phillies. The Phillies aren't going to go quietly. They're a great second half team.
Oh yeah.
The Mets were the Mets. How do you stop the Mets from winning? You give them a baseball bat. That's how you stop the Mets from winning.
Oh, wow. Who would ever thought Steve Cohen, after putting all that money in there, would be struggling as hard with that team? I think it was like $245 million or something like that is his payroll. And it's like, good Lord. But you can try by a good team, and, some of your best players can get injured too, or they just aren't necessarily going to perform to the level of the dollars that you invest in them. And
that's true. That's the success of Tampa.
Yeah.
That's the absolute success of what you have going on there. A small market team constantly winning.
Well, like I said, a lot of it's taken a long time to get there, and it's taken a good farm system too. And looking at your farm system, I know there's one player who's came up to the show, but who's down right now, maybe still injured. And that's, was it Sixto?
Right. Sixto
Sanchez. Yeah. And you think he'll see him come back up this year, or what do you?
Don't know. They really don't need him right now.
Yeah. It's because I was wondering.
It's based on It's based on need and injuries. And right now there's no need, and there aren't any significant injuries other than Jazz.
Gotcha.
And so, and the pitching is solid. It's coming all together. I just it's been a fun. I can tell you, it's been a fun first 65 games or so. It's yeah. I just hope the next 2/3 of the season or so will be as much fun as the first third has been.
Wow. So you guys are playing tonight in Seattle, right?
Tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday. Let's see, today's good day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they have an off day Thursday to go from west to east, and then they play the Nationals for 3 games, and that's where you got to say to yourself, okay, if you're the Marlins, you're playing on the West Coast. They swept the Angels on the West Coast, but you say to yourself, okay, we got to take 2 out of 3 in Seattle, and then we got to come down and take 2 out of 3 from Washington. That's what you got to do. One game at a time, though. You really got to take one game at a time, because not every game is going to be Saturday, Sunday against the White Sox.
Wow.
Clutch hitting, 2-out hitting, good relief pitching.
Well, I'm looking forward to, like I said, to see how you guys continue to move on. It's looking good, and you said there's really no need to bring anybody up. So I imagine there's really not much as far as you guys looking at trades either.
So I'm sure they're looking to make things healthy. Will they offer a Jazz for prospects? Will they offer Trevor Rogers for prospects? Because unlike the Rays, we're not loaded as far as guys in the minors. So who do you say, if you had a crystal ball right now, who are going to be 2 or 3 of the Rays that are going to be playing on the All-Star team come next month?
Well, if you went just for popularity, I'd say a Rosarina,
okay.
no matter what.
There you go. That's the no-brainer. Okay. And then who else? Who joins?
Well, then it had to be Shane McClanahan pitching. And he's just been, stupefying. You go after that. Oh, geez, where I go. I love to see Taylor Walls, but I don't think he's there yet. He's been kind of off and on. Siri for entertainment value. So I say McClanahan, Rosarina, and then in my heart, I'd say Yandy Diaz at first.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3, McClanahan, Rosarina, and Yandy Diaz.
Well, you all play late games this week too. You're out against one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, the Oakland A's.
Okay, yeah.
You don't laugh.
I know you're not kidding.
They've played 500 ball the last 10 games, and they won 4 in a row. They swept their first series. They like I said before, they're above the Mets right now from 62. They're a couple of weeks ago they were looking at winning about 30 games. Now they're over 40.
We will see, brother. Yeah, at least our guys got a chance to take a breath for a day before going across the country.
Is Zach Eflin even human? I mean, I've watched him pitch, and it's just like I think the batters know what he's going to throw, and they just can't hit him.
Yeah, he is amazing, and I mean that shows veteran experience plus talent. You sometimes you have a young talent who can execute certain things, but how he's able to measure with what he's looking at that batter. Go ahead.
So how do you explain last year a terrible year with the Phillies? Okay, how does he turn around a +4 ERA, just not good numbers, and all of a sudden, and even the year before that with the Phillies, it was another +4 ERA, and the year before that it was a 4 ERA, and he's been nothing his whole entire career. He has never had an ERA except 1 year lower than 4, and it was a 3.97. So how do you explain 2023? I'm an alien. I just came down from outer space, and I see this guy pitch. How do you explain the fact that up until this season he was just a average, mediocre pitcher, a number 4 or 5 guy?
I don't know what his relationship was with his last team, but this group, this organization is very welcoming of everybody that comes in. I think the respect that they have for him elevates him, but maybe even more so, it comes down to that pitching coach, Kyle Snyder. he has seemed to bring in a lot of young players. I mean, obviously Zach's not, and help give them control and confidence. But I think with Zach, he doesn't have to instill confidence because Zach already has it. I think they say, here's the ball. We trust you. Do what you do.
Do you think also it's because he's a local kid? I mean, he's an Orlando kid. He grew up here. Do you think that part of that is that he's playing at home? Because the Rays were the closest team to him when he grew up. I mean, the Rays were probably his team. And so do you think that's made him a better pitcher as well? Because he's probably been to that stadium dozens of times when he was a kid watching baseball.
I think that definitely makes a difference. I mean, because anytime you're at your home, whether it's physically where you're at, where you've lived as a kid, but a place that you're familiar with. I mean, whether it be just the environment, the weather, but certainly a team that you grew up with. Yeah, I think that definitely matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that matters too with him, because I don't know the young man, but it just seems that what's different? He's playing he's playing half his games inside. When he was with the Phillies, they were more than half obviously outside. So what's the difference between here and Philadelphia? Well, maybe less fans to boo. You know how tough. Well, you know how tough fans can be in Philly. Oh, yeah. Here, it's a little bit different. But he's 8-1. Just if he's not the starter, if he keeps these numbers up, if he's not given the ball to start the All-Star game in the American League, then you've got a good case for robbery over in Tampa.
It's going to be interesting, Lou. I'm real excited about this season, and it tickled me at the beginning of the year. There was some guy who thought he was like John Boy and said that the Rays were cheating. They're only playing these weak teams, and there's something wrong there. I thought, sir, I'm not going to address you at all. Just go ahead and say that, and just watch how the season progresses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you're going to be embarrassed later on, but I'm not going to give him the credit to even address him. But it was interesting. It goes back to, I think, a lot of folks, and certainly with the Marlins, people just tend to forget Florida, and we don't have to care about what they think. We just have to win.
Yeah, it's been fun watching you guys up in Tampa. It's been a joy, to go down to the ballpark. To my phone's ringing a little bit more from friends now wanting to go to ball games. All of a sudden, the phone's starting to ring. Hey, it's like, hey Lou, hey, what's going on? Hey, you going to games? Yeah, I'm going to games. You want to come? Oh, I'd love to come along. Yeah. All of a sudden, some folks want to come along to a ball game. It's funny, the fair weather fans are coming out, but that's okay. That's quite all right. It's just fun going to a ball game. I hope they fill up the ballpark. I hope they get some more people. The team, the players are worth the reason to fill up the park. They're the ones that deserve to have people letting them know that they appreciate what they do. Agreed.
Wow, Lou, we could go on and on about this, but I did. I don't know. We'll cover this today, but I would sometime like to talk about the whole thing from Sinclair to Diamond to Bally to MLB, and that could be a whole other show. But if you get some time
we can do that. I'm actually this summer, I'll be back up in Minnesota the end of next month. And one of the areas that we're going to be talking about is the Sinclair bankruptcy.
Yeah.
With the baseball law kids. Got a couple of things. We're going to ex Major League umpire Clint Fagan's coming in from Texas to talk to the class. There's a book that I just finished reading. The author of this book, Dan Levitt, is going to come talk to the class. It's called Intentional Balk: Baseball's Line Between Innovation and Cheating. He probably, if you want, I'll get you his Dan's information off the air. He would make an excellent guest. He's a Minneapolis attorney. He really knows baseball. He's a Sabre guy. He's won Sabre awards. He's going to come in and talk to the class. Melissa Lutkey is going to be back this summer via Zoom and talk to the class. Stu Thornley is going to come in live and talk to the class about baseball rules and things like that. Should be a fun class again this summer.
Man, I'm almost ready to come up here up north to here. Is it Hamlin? Is that where you?
Well, yeah, Mitchell Hamlin in St. Paul.
St. Paul. Yeah, wow.
First day of the class, the St. Paul Saints treat us like saints. We do the class in the press box of CHS Field. Tom Whaley welcomes us, who's the executive vice president and chief legal counsel for the Saints. He's going to talk about the sale of the Saints. He's going to kind of talk about how they got sold, because Mike Veck's group is no longer the ownership. Tom was part of that group, but he stayed behind to help run some things. And then Sunday we go back to the law school, and Bob Whitsitt's going to come in and talk about the Sinclair bankruptcy. Well, so yeah, it should be a fun 2 days with the students. Should be a good 2 days.
I want to remind folks too, they can find you on Twitter at Baseball and Law. Is that correct?
Baseball and Law. Right.
Say baseball
and Law.
At
right.
Baseball and Law. And folks, I highly encourage you to go check that every day, because Lou digs up some really interesting facts about baseball of the past and some not so far back, but the legal aspects of questionable what's happened and how it's impacting baseball today. Lou, what are we looking at? What's coming up soon that you're going to have on Baseball and Law?
So Baseball and Law coming up the next couple of days. I will give you a preview. Hold on right now. I will tell you what we've got going on. So I usually get these ready in advance. Give me a moment and I will tell you what we have. Here's a sneak peek of unless there's breaking news. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the farewell to Babe Ruth on Babe Ruth Day in 1948, June 13th, 1948. We're going to talk on Wednesday about the 1869 Cincinnati Red Stockings and the longest professional winning streak in professional baseball history. And Thursday, we're going to talk about an Oklahoma Supreme Court decision about Pee Wee baseball, not Pee Wee Reese, Pee Wee baseball, and again, it's always the parents and the parents filing a lawsuit.
Oh yeah,
because they didn't like the outcome of a Pee Wee baseball game, and I talk about what the Oklahoma Supreme Court said. Okay. And you won't be disappointed what they said. Friday, we're going to talk a little bit about a lawsuit that the Chicago Cubs got involved in about 20 years ago, where a fan actually it was in 2000, where a fan was beat up by Dodger players.
Oh.
And he filed a lawsuit against the Cubs claiming their lack of security and the lawsuit that happened and the surprising jury verdict. And let's see, to finish out the week on Saturday, I'm going back to Oklahoma. I don't do a lot of stuff about Oklahoma, but I found some pretty interesting things about Oklahoma. And this is an Oklahoma Little League. And again, it's about the parents. And it's a story about how parents were upset because their kids didn't get participation trophies, and it's an article that goes back to 2013 from the New York Times, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. So that's what's on tap for the rest of the week on Baseball and Law. If you missed it, I had a tweet the other day. This was funny. Somebody had a better tweet than I did. The headline that I used was "That Must Have Hurt." It was a story from 1904. A couple of guys were playing catch. A guy comes walking by. The ball hits him in the groin, and he files a lawsuit to recover his $12.50 medical bills. But there was one of my readers came up with a better headline, and I'll tell you who it was. It's Rick Morossi. Rick is a Chicago Sun-Times sports columnist, and he came up with a better title. I wish I thought of it. He came up with the title, instead of "That Must Hurt," he said it should have been called, the count was 2 balls and 1 strike.
Oh.
That's why he's writing headlines professionally for a living, and I'm not.
Oh.
So those are some of the things I write about. Once in a while, I'll talk about my Marlins. This week, I also talked a little bit about the price that was paid for the contract that sent Babe Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees, how that was sold at auction. And so I talk about things that are like that. Earlier this week, talked about a lawsuit that was about some of these lawsuits that have been filed regarding fans who are not disabled winding up in the disabled seats because they're able to get their tickets on secondary markets and things like that. This past week was also the anniversary of Steve Howe entering a guilty plea regarding his cocaine use. So, and then the last one we talked about was a guy in Jersey who built a ballpark in his backyard for the neighborhood. It cost him $300,000 to build this back in the late 90s. The city claimed it was a nuisance, and they shut the field down so the neighbors couldn't play there, but like maybe once a week. And he built this whole thing. He wanted the kids to play in his backyard, and the city cried foul. And a judge agreed with the city. So that's some of the things that I write about and we talk about. And it's always, I try to put something fun up there. And I cite to our book, Baseball and the Law, Cases and Materials. And I always give a reference number where you can find something in the book that either talks about this exact topic or something very similar to it.
And that's actually available online if somebody wants to purchase it.
It is available online. That's the good news. The bad news is the hard edition, the regular edition is out of print right now. The hardcover's out of print, but my publisher is running a sale till July 1st. Thanks for reminding me. My publisher is running an electronic sale. And if you go to Carolina Academic Press and you use the code B-Ball 2023, all in caps, B-Ball 2023 at checkout, you'll get a third off the list price. That's through the publisher, Carolina Academic Press.
I'll make sure I put that in the show notes too, folks, so you can look down there as well.
Right now, it's pinned to my tweet for the month of June, but that's what they're doing.
Excellent.
So that's what they're doing for the month of June for the electronic edition. So it's been a fun run doing this stuff. Great always to talk to you, Mark. It's nicer this month because of how well not only your team is doing, but my team is doing.
That's the Honourable Lou Schiff, Miami Marlins fan extraordinaire. And you can find him again with some of the great stories on Twitter at Baseball and Law. That's at Baseball and Law on Twitter. So, Lou, thanks again, buddy. I appreciate you joining us here today, man, and enjoy the rest of this season.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and hope to talk to you all real soon. You can find us on every directory on podcasts anywhere. We also want to thank XTKRUX for the music Rocking Forward.